Okay, so as we were talking in the last video, in 1957 and 1958, China has come a long way from being kind of a nation that was bullied about by the great powers in the early 20th century to now being called upon to act as a mediator in disputes and challenging the United States in several key areas throughout Southeast Asia. But it's not going so well in the late 1950s and early 1960s, as a lot of the tensions with the two superpowers are now going to come to the foray, and in some ways greatly constrain what Zhou Enlai and the foreign ministry can achieve in the 1960s. So there was an idea in the early 1950s. Sorry, I'm moving on to my next slide here. In many circles inside China and out, that Zhou Enlai was essentially a tempering force on the more radical elements of the Chinese Communist Party, like Mao Zedong. They thought through his loyalty to Mao since the Long March, he was actually in a position to dissuade him and other radicals of their more extreme positions and policies. The truth is that he was often complicit in a lot of crimes and ideological campaigns against people that did great harm. But there was also another belief that there was a division of labor within the party that largely allowed Zhou to handle foreign ministry and relations with foreign countries, while Mao set the course for the domestic revolution that would transform China. But with the tensions between Mao and other members that came to the top of the party after the Great Leap Forward simmering, Maoism and the revolution at home seemed to have destroyed that balance and his relationship with Zhou Enlai as well. General Lin Biao's deification of Mao inside the People's Liberation Army and the growing rivalry with the Soviets for world leadership took China down a more militant path, openly sponsoring armed insurrections against established governments that at one time had relations with China and recognized it as a true claimant in the United Nations in the Middle East and Africa. Zhou's ability then to win Beijing respect or court an image of the nation as a peaceful broker and leader via international cooperation was coming undone. By the early 1960s, then, China watched these issues boil over, and a successful border war with India, one of its most benevolent partners in the early 1950s, proved the military's success, but it also undid all the efforts that Zhou Enlai had made at Asian unity and a region that was led by India and China. The aforementioned problems with the Soviets were headed toward another border skirmish in 1969 that would prove in the realm of military affairs, Beijing was far from Moscow's equal, and a cultural revolution inside China that so convulsed the nation that for many years after 1966, almost all of its foreign diplomats and emissaries were pulled back home, and the country virtually shut off from engagement, either through trade, travel, and diplomacy with the outside world, including communist countries. Even then, Zhou's first decade plus as China's foreign minister had put the People's Republic of China on a path to removing its rival in Taipei from the Security Council and claiming that spot for Beijing. Their actions at Bandung, their aid in Africa, and their mediation in Eastern Europe had won them the respect and recognition of a majority or a growing number of representatives to the United Nations that wanted to seat China and not Taiwan in the Security Council seat. So even though China says under Zhou Enlai that there are no strings attached, this is a very obvious string that they're hoping to court in their actions in international affairs. After the Cultural Revolution, despite illness and old age, Zhou Enlai would get one more chance to resume his work with a short window to cement China's place in the modern world and repair a lot of the damage done to its international relations. Okay, so a bit windy there at the end. I'm going to post a video a movie called To Live that I'll do a short intro tomorrow, but it's going to kind of walk you through a fictional, but still a very believable portrait of what many of these major climactic events, like the revolution in 1949, the Great Leap Forward, the Cultural Revolution, looked like from the vantage point of an average Chinese family. Hopefully something that you find very powerful and prompt a lot of discussion. Good luck on your exams this week. be well. Hopefully everyone is warm, comfortable, and in good standing with their academics. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help.